Okay, this is starting Sherrie Perry's video, and here is the audience, me and our little girl Emily, and oh no, there's an earthquake out here. Oh, okay, we'll stop. All right, and
Okay.
here goes the speech.
We are here today to remember the life of one of our nation's pioneers of birth control and women's rights, Margaret Sanger, a person so famous that our First Lady Hillary Clinton called her one of the people that she admires. Planned Parenthood owes its existence to the tireless work of Margaret Sanger. Let us look today at the great life that Margaret Sanger led and the legacy that she has left. Margaret Sanger was born Margaret Louise Higgins in 1879 in Corning, New York. Her father, Michael Hennessy Higgins, was a Mason from Ireland, and her mother, Anne Purcell Higgins, a Catholic Irish woman, Catholic Irish American. Both Anne and her parents immigrated to Canada when she was a child due to the potato famine. Her father immigrated to the USA at the age of 15 and joined the U.S. Army during the Civil War as a drummer. He was a Catholic who became an atheist and an activist for women's suffrage and free public education. Her mother went through 18 pregnancies with 11 live births in 22 years before dying at the age of 49. Sanger was the sixth of 11 children and spent much of her youth assisting with household chores and caring for her younger siblings. Margaret Higgins attended Claverack College and Hudson River Institute, and then in 1900 enrolled in White Plains Hospital as a nurse probationer. In 1902, she married the dashing architect William Sanger and ended her formal training. Though Margaret Sanger was plagued by a recurring active tubercular condition, she bore 3 children, and the couple settled down to a quiet life in Westchester, New York. When their house burned, the Sangers decided to move into the city, where Margaret began to awaken into activism. She started working with the destitute people in New York, where she took on the philosophy of eugenics, which is the improvement of society by removing unwanted elements from society. Specifically, she advocated birth control for people from poor backgrounds or African Americans, so we could have a better nation. Germany's Nazi Party liked the American eugenics work so much, get your head out, that they used it as a model for their policies of genocide. In 1929, she founded the National Committee on Federal Legislation for Birth Control to lobby for birth control legislation. As the topic of contraception was considered obscene in the early 20th century, Margaret's publication of the Woman Rebel resulted in her facing jail time, so she gave up her marriage and fled to England to spread her joyful message there. Some of her famous quotes are as follows. The most merciful thing that a large family does to one of its infant members is to kill it. Wow, really? We should hire 3 or 4 colored ministers, preferably with social service backgrounds and with engaging personalities. The most successful educational approach to the Negro is through religious appeal. We don't want the word to go out that we want to exterminate the Negro population, and the minister is the man who can straighten out that idea if it ever occurs to any of their more rebellious members. Another famous quote of hers, birth control must lead ultimately to a cleaner race. One of Margaret's more memorable moments were the speech given to the Women's Auxiliary of the Ku Klux Klan of Silver Lake, New Jersey. In his book Mein Kampf, Adolf Hitler wrote, "There is today one state in which at least weak beginnings toward a better conception of race are noticeable. Of course, it is not our model German Republic, but the United States." Margaret passed away in 1966 at the age of 82 after a full life in Tucson, Arizona. She was survived by 2 sons, both doctors. So in memory of Margaret Sanger, do not just think of her as the roots of Planned Parenthood. Think of her as one who would selectively breed this nation to greatness. And I do this speech with much irony. Thank you for listening.